John was working in his science lab, got blasted by gamma rays. Now he's Smash Trivia John, always smashing. He's friends with Ruffalo, in love with Aslan, and also some arrow weaving. John's here saying, hello my gamma friends, welcome to the show, the Gamma Analysis Podcast.
And halt. Smash.
Hello, my Gamma friends. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia. I'll be the one with the big old green head in the profile picture. This is a Gamma analysis. Basically, I'm going to review Hulk, everything Hulk, all the movies, TV shows, and I also do random other geeky films. Hope you enjoy Smash Trivia Presents the Gamma analysis. I want to ask everyone listening, please do a sign for me. Please share the hell out of this podcast with all your friends. If you don't, Hulk will be angry. Now let's smash right into this episode. Today's episode is a review of They Live with Matt from the 1 Week Rental podcast. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good, but you won't put on these glasses. Put them on. Put on the glasses.
I don't have any sunglasses by my desk.
He won't put them on. We got in a 45-minute fist fight in an alley because he wouldn't put on the glasses. He smashed a bottle over my head. It hurt a lot.
That scene is so wild because, like, you could have just told the guy, "Hey, if you put on the glasses and you don't see what I see, I will leave you alone forever." And I bet he would have just put them on then.
He's a reasonable Keith David in this movie. He seems like a pretty reasonable guy, but that's just Roddy Piper immediately escalates.
I like Keith David in this film a lot more than I like the lead, to be honest.
I mean, this is one of the best. Keith David in this movie, he's just pristine. I just love him so much.
Yeah, this is probably one of the only roles where I've seen Keith David in a level-headed performance. It's usually very over the top. Which I like him being very over the top.
Oh yeah, he's hilarious. Yeah, he's hilarious.
But I think it's interesting to see this where he is very much a normal character, and this is such a good performance from him.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen The Thing?
I have not.
You gotta see The Thing. It's that's John, another John Carpenter movie. He's in that as well. That was his first movie. And similarly plays like the reasonable man who's like, I think we're getting a little too crazy about this whole thing business. So check out The Thing. But yeah, he's always been great. And I love this movie. But that fight, it's almost like white people and black people are just going to be fighting each other for eternity rather than realizing we have a common enemy. Let's stop fighting each other and fight these goddamn aliens.
So, for me watching it yesterday, that was the first time I ever watched it, and I liked it. I liked it, but there is one particular thing where I'm I don't love love with it, which is since this is such a powerful political commentary. I don't love the idea that that it's aliens and not just regular people, humans, and for this elite class. As I particularly because of the way that that our main character treats it. He sees these people who look different and he immediately assumes they're bad.
Yeah, it is a classic thing you have to do in satire of we have to really heighten the extremeness of the difference. So it's these are aliens, but it's very clear what Carpenter's going for here is these are obviously humans. They're just the ruling class. Yeah, and people have always sorry, go ahead.
I just think that's I think it's important to make them look human because the way he goes about it deciding that they're bad just because they look different to him gives off a bigoted context. To be honest.
But he can tell right away that they are the glasses make him see they are in collaboration with. It's not just that he sees through them; he sees now the messaging behind every single thing on the planet, and sees they're clearly the ones responsible for this.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, with the side, I thought that was funny with the glasses, is that is obviously something that it's only because of a modern context that reminds me of this, but the way what it does to all the things showing this true meaning of their text is it feels to me like the people are people who rewrite headlines and say fix your headline for you, and they give a more accurate headline.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I was wondering this time, I've seen this movie many times. I thought this time I could see John Carpenter sort of wrestling with the idea of I want to make movies, but to make movies, you have to work in this capitalist Hollywood system that I know is terrible for humanity and is destroying the world. And even if I'm an individual making good movies, and even if I can get my message out there, I'm really just helping them prop up the system. So I was really picking up on that this time, as Roddy Piper as the main character is looking through magazines, and all he can see is consume. And I wondered what would happen if he went into a movie theater and watched a movie. What would he see on screen? And I think he would just see the word consume. It wouldn't even be a movie.
Yeah, I think. I think though, this film comes from the point of view of everybody who's working within that system is bad, and I think that is not true. There's so many people, they're doing it because they have to. It's not because they actually want to exploit people. There's so many people who are just these entry level workers, and I don't think they should be treated as bad guys too.
Well, the point of I see this movie as very much just being a metaphor for realizing that capitalism is oppressing you, and just another way to put that is becoming a Marxist, is gaining awareness of class conflict. And part of that is realizing good guys and bad guys, these things don't matter. It's the system. If you work for the system, you can have a good heart, you can be a good person, but you're still playing your part in perpetuating the system that creates more misery.
Nice.
So good and bad people, that's a category that doesn't matter.
Oh.
I'm sure any CEO of the worst companies in the world, if you had dinner with them, you'd be I like them. They're a good person.
Well, yeah, but I'm not. I don't mean the CEOs. I mean just these people who they're doing this because they need a job to support their family, and sadly, within a capitalistic society, you do have to have that.
Yeah, but that's the point, that it encroaches, it grabs everyone and absorbs you into the system, and then makes you think you play your cards right, and this can work out really well for you. You can buy a bigger house, and you come to identify way more with the ruling class than with the working class people like Keith David and Roddy Piper in this movie, who you have way more in common with.
Mm-hmm. I think I think with the metaphor of them being aliens is aims besides interesting about that to me with what's going on in the world right now with the Epstein files is all the people who are people who've decided that they're satanic, and I don't like that perspective about it, because I think that kind of gives them an out in a way of they're you're partially saying this is they didn't just choose this of their own free will, that they were forced into this by Satan.
Or calling them demons,
or if you calling them demons or actually Satan himself, you're you're kind of also still giving them an out by because out in like in the same way with Alien because like it then it could be a situation of it's in their nature because you don't know what their nature is then and I think it I that's why I think it's so important to point out that like the evils of this world are human. They're not these extra paranormal or extraordinary creatures. They're just shitty humans who are shitty because of their actions.
Yeah, with Epstein with calling them Satanists or demons, or the classic conspiracy that they're lizard people.
Yeah.
I think you have a couple things going on. You have one that, and this is the problem with conspiracy theories, is people can tell something is wrong with the world, and that like there are powerful interests controlling the world and controlling your life, and you have no control over your life and the forces that shape your world. But you go one step further and say they must be magical demons and not just, oh, they're capitalists, or oh, they're corporate executives, or it's corporate corporate capitalism and imperialism. More fun to dress it up in they're lizards. If you opened up their costume, you'd see they're lizards. But I think it's also like people have such a hard time identifying with the idea that what people do in these that what the ruling class does, what Epstein and his cronies do, that it's like they might as well be aliens, because I cannot understand the impulse to do that so fundamentally that it's like you're a different species.
Yeah, I can understand that. I just like I don't like there being any sort of thing that can like give them an out, and
Oh, sure.
and like it really does to me feel like it's giving them an out. People who call them satanic and like or Satan, like they like these would be the same people who like whenever they do anything bad, they'd be like Satan made me do it, and it's like no, you no, you're giving yourself an out like the out no like the it's just it's a like I
Do you
don't
ever
think
watch The
that
Righteous
Christianity.
Gemstones? Sorry, do you ever watch The Righteous Gemstones?
I've seen a few episodes, but like I didn't really pay attention. It was like a decade ago.
Well, it wasn't that long ago, but there's just a scene where the Danny McBride character is praying to God, and he's like, "And Jesus, I thank you for forgiving me my sins, which, as you know, are not me." Which I
Yeah,
just
it's
feel
like
like that so many people believe that is like, I'm not my sins, I'm not what I do. When I do something bad, it's the devil.
like I think like you there is like sign to say like you of you are not your bad actions, but your bad actions are what make you bad. Like you're like because like saying you are your bad actions does imply it's a part of your nature to be this bad person, which then in turn makes it a lesson thing. I mean, very, so, oh yeah, I don't know. It's just like I think there's sadly been a lot of media I have over the centuries that has pushed the idea that people who are bad, they're just inherently bad because of who they are and not because of their actions. And I think that is a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that's why it's important to just look past the categorization,
Yeah.
is somebody good or bad? And that usually the horrible things that happen in the world aren't because of what individuals do. They're because of big structural forces and economic incentives. Why are we at war with Iran right now? That's not, I think we would be at war with Iran no matter who is president right now. It's just like an
Yeah.
inevitability because they have to find, they're shaking the couch or they're looking under the couch cushions for money anywhere they can find it. We got to bomb somewhere.
Mhm. Though the particularly with Trump, it's pretty obvious. Obvious he found it out with Netanyahu like oh they want us to go to war. This will distract people from the Epstein files. Win-win for me.
I disagree with you. I don't think that matters. I don't think I don't think that I think that he would be doing this regardless of whether there was an Epstein thing going on, because like my entire life, conservatives and liberals have wanted to go to war with Iran. They've wanted it so long for so bad, and they're like, finally, this is our moment to do it. Because like it's all happening for the same reason. It's capitalism. It's you have to find a new place to wage your war. It's the same reason ICE escalates. We have to find new people to oppress. And it's why this movie's so interesting, because it's from 1988 and it's all the same stuff we deal with right now, with homeless encampments getting bulldozed and stuff.
Oh yeah. One thing I was surprised by when I was watching this is because I never had realized before that this line came from this movie, was like the was when the guy goes into the bank and he's like, I'm here to fight and and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Like I was surprised by that, because like I always just assumed that line was signed from a standard action film, not something crazy like this.
Yeah.
Like that felt like a line I could have seen in some random 4 out of 10 action movie.
Yeah, I think the way I read it is like he is they never call him his name in the movie, but the end credits say his name is Nada, which is Spanish for nothing. And he is like nothing. He is a blank slate. You know nothing about this guy. And I think that the only thing that informs his personality is the media he consumes. So he is talking like he's an action hero played by Arnold Schwarzenegger or Stallone or whoever. And that's what's so jarring about it. Especially because that line has been parodied and you know paid tribute to so much outside it. Like that moment is way more famous than this movie itself. So when you see it in the movie, you're kind of like, really? This movie that's been like a serious examination of homelessness and poverty and class war and stuff? But I feel like he's sort of the only thing he can define himself as is like a movie character.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, obviously, like it probably wouldn't have actually ended up being good for him if he'd done this. But like I feel like in the scene where where he's at the lady's house and she's refusing to put on the glasses. I feel like with like the knowledge he had at that point, since he didn't know that she was gonna be someone who worked for them, I feel like it would have made sense for him to and be like, as a gesture to show that I'm not a threat, I will give you my shotgun, and then and if you then you put on the glasses.
Yeah, I always remember him doing something like that, and it always surprises me how quickly this ends with her just pushing him out the glass window, which is great. I think he's great in this movie. He's a wrestler. He's not really an actor. Because it's such a physical performance, and he looks ridiculous, and you kind of have to wonder what it's like for this guy just wandering around looking the way he looks.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I find funny how like he the whole time it's just him. He's just wandering around, no idea where to go to stay outside. Immediately upon getting Keith David with him, and Keith David's like, let's just go to a motel. That's a very obvious place to go deal and be out of sight.
Yeah, I think Keith David's used to like he's used to being able to disappear.
You know, one thing I kind of wish we could have seen, because it kept mentioning it in the film, is Keith David's character's family. I think it would have been such a interesting twist if it were revealed that they were some of the aliens.
Why?
Like, they were are like placed there to try and keep him from trying to find out the truth.
Yeah, I think the reason they want to make him a family man who's separated from his family is when Roddy Piper, tries to recruit him. Basically, at first he's like, "No, I have a wife, I have a family at home. I can't
Yeah,
I can't put myself at risk, which is just the
exactly.
classic thing that revolution happens to people when they get the opportunity to engage in revolution is I have too much at stake. I can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm like, I think it would be interesting if that were if it were revealed that his family were placed there by the aliens as a way to try and stop him from thinking more, or and also I think it would make sense within the reality that we live in of how the capitalistic system wants us to have more kids.
Mm-hmm. Which they say, marry and reproduce, marry and reproduce, because we're going to need more workers. We're going to need to keep filling up. Need more people to consume.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I the all this stuff for the first it takes a long time for like the movie to start. It's just kind of him wandering around for
Yeah.
30 minutes. And but I loved the first 30 minutes of the movie of just a look at this world. And him, trying to find work. He finds work, but his boss immediately tells him like, "Hey, you're not allowed to sleep at the job site," which suggests this boss is used to his workers not having homes. They just sleep on the job, and it's like that's its own horror. Why? That obviously, like, you don't need aliens for something like that to happen. But then he goes to this homeless encampment where there is this little community that looks out for each other. And so, what do the cops have to do? They have to immediately demolish it because we can't have people getting together and help each other out and form some sort of counterbalance.
No. Oh, something I was thinking about it. I was watching this film, like that. It's not like like it's definitely not like a 1-to-1 comparison, but but I feel like there is like a similar quality between this and like the and how crazy and meaningful the new film Good Luck Have Fun on Don't Die is.
Oh, I didn't see it.
I definitely think you should try and check that out whenever you have a chance. It calls out a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world. And and you really got to pay attention because there's a lot of people who think it's just AI, but it's also very much about capitalism and the government trying to keep us in line, make profit off of us, and there's a lot of different crazy things in it that they're like, yeah, we're gonna call this out. And sadly though, there's a lot of people who didn't get a lot of the different messages in it.
Well, a lot of people with They Live, you can look at it and be like, oh, he's putting on the glasses and seeing, the Jews or whatever ridiculous racist conspiracy theory you have. Now, to me, that seems absurd because
Yeah,
they literally say in the movie, like, these aliens, they're free enterprisers. The Earth is an enterprise. So it's like he's making it very obvious, but it's like,
yeah.
people are going to misinterpret things or go with God. The movie means whatever you want it to mean. Have fun with that, buddy. The author, the once the movie is made, it's out of the creator's hands.
You know, I remember a few years ago, when Free Guy came out, there were a lot of people comparing that to this because of the use of sunglasses and that to show inner workings of stuff. But like, I feel like these are very different films.
Well, they are very different films. They Live is good, for example, um, and doesn't have my mortal enemy Ryan Reynolds. But I think that waking up to the idea that you're not a real person, you're an NPC. It's not. It is very
Right,
thematically similar.
there's definitely similarities to it. I think though, um, Free Guy is like a lot less against capitalism than as this is.
It would have to be.
I personally I like Free Guy. I think it's a really fun film, but I think this is definitely a lot more meaningful of a film.
Yeah, I think that I remember there being like a bank like shootout scene. I don't remember it that well, but I bet they intentionally are trying to harken back to They Live.
Oh yeah.
But all of these movies, like The Matrix and whatever other dystopia movies, like they're all playing in the same sandbox. If they don't label like what the monster represents, it is all responding to the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And he says at one point in this movie, like, you're just waking up from your nap or something like that, which is, a thing that The Matrix is very much playing with as well.
Oh, with this film, one particular thing I think I really want to point out is like I love the visuals of it. Particularly the way they do the visuals when he puts on the glasses and
It's so good.
black and white. It all works so well.
It's so scary, and it's done like there's no score, and it goes into black and white, and now everything like looks brutalist and almost like Soviet, or like a parody of what the Soviet Union is, what Americans think it is, and just black and white and just giant text. Consume.
Which in reality, it's more of like it's not the like Soviet late game Soviet stuff, more of like late game of like what the Nazis would have wanted, because very much within a fascist society, like the late game, you would be subjugated, you have no control, and they also take away all the joy of the world of like turning it into this very pale looking society that's because that makes it so you're easier to control.
Yeah, which is like another way of looking at this is like consumerism. If you want to be more specific than capitalism, is people feeling like I can buy the products I want at the grocery store, or I can watch the TV shows I want to watch, and that brings like meaning to my life and means I'm free, means I'm a free person. And all you're doing is just paying money into the system to become more and more pacified.
Yeah, I think though that there's definitely like you're doing that, but also at the same time, like I personally think there's art in everything, and you're and like to see it as you're just as consuming, you're just putting more into that system. Um, Kind of like tries to remove the art from it, and like I yes there's profits being made on all these things, but there's still absolutely an art to it all.
You're talking specifically about TV?
Yeah, TV, movies, heck, even magazines. Means like you're there's so many people who see it as it is just consuming, but I think think that when you do that, you're forgetting that there's always someone who's part of making something, that they are trying to make a piece of art.
Yeah.
It's not everybody is trying to be just profit off of you.
But I think with TV specifically, and this was something people were more worried about in the 80s, because it's ad supported, because you're watching advertisements, because the real reason it exists is so that you watch the commercials in between the stuff that you actually want to watch. I don't think it's saying that there's no art to be found, but it's the artist's dilemma that you have to get your art before an audience. You're going to have to participate in the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do this podcast every month with my friend Patrick, the Signpost Up Ahead, which is about the Twilight Zone. And the Twilight Zone, which came out in the 50s and 60s, is responding to TV, which is a brand new thing. And like, I think we're so used to TV and to phones being a thing, smartphones being a thing, that the idea that there was a time where there was no TV in the house, and suddenly there's TV in the house. And that was an enormous change that like you almost can't comprehend. Because suddenly you're seeing images all day, when you used to be, reality was just what you saw in the physical world in front of you. And I think people were very, very anxious about that for a long time. But
Oh
now we've
yeah,
lived with it for so
definitely.
long that we almost like have forgotten about it.
Definitely, definitely. Like I think that I think those kinds of transitions are really interesting to me. They are like these are definitely like these really big moments in history where where it's so interesting to me just because of like it doesn't feel like a lot of things. There's a lot of things these days that could feel like that. I don't know when we're gonna have like the
Yeah.
next like crazy thing that actually changes the way we live, and I think it would be so interesting to live through that.
I think it'd be depressing. I mean, I'm older than you. I think smartphones was the thing
Oh
that
yeah,
that
I definitely like lived through smartphones becoming a thing, but like I mean, like really living through it like as an adult, where I'm like, I'm really conscious of the fact this is this new thing, and this is something that's gonna be around forever.
hmm yeah, I think all the time, like I was excited. I thought phones were great. I thought they were awesome. I thought it was so much fun to just scroll on my phone for years and years and years before I realized, oh, this is making me depressed and miserable and it's ruined the world. And now
Yeah.
no, we need to go back. We also need to go back to, I don't know when, but
Mhm.
I definitely, I'd get rid of the internet if I could.
Oh, there's hey, even just like in terms of like world events, like I remember there was a long time where like I was like wondering like what events from our from like modern times are going to be taught about in school,
hmm
and like I think a lot of things like from like the first first or 2 decades of my life, I probably would not be taught on. But then like in these 2020s, we've really got some big things where I'm like, yeah, these will probably be taught in school. Like I think that there's no way that we don't end up hearing about in schools the year of 2020 be with COVID. That was like one of the craziest things of our lifetimes.
No, we're in denial, I think, about how important it was. Like
and
we
then
can't see it. We're too close to it.
and then like the I genuinely think like the Epstein files might be the a craziest controversy this country has ever had. I'd like once it all completely comes out like uh, versus like I all the stuff off with the for 2000 and through like 2019 like it kind of like there's definitely big things that happened,
Well, yeah,
but
there was nine
nothing that
eleven,
are
and the
so
no.
well. Yes, as 9/11. I mean like there's not a lot of things I think there that are so big that they're gonna be like months where you're being taught about it in school. Versus, I think some of these things where you're on these things so we've dealt with in the past 6 years, well, years will be having massive presence in
Well, okay.
history
I
class.
think that if you're talking about what you learn in school, I don't think you're learning about any of that. I think that no, this is true. Like history class is cut off at World War II for a reason, because everything after that is controversial to teach kids.
Makes sense.
If you teach them about the Korean War and the Vietnam War, some kids' parents are going to get upset, and because you're going to have to learn a very like, you're either going to learn the
I
stupid
think
patriotic version or you're going to learn the real version, and then parents are going to get upset.
like I yeah, but I also I think like as like the times go on, they do eventually have to push further than that in the history books, and it's always it's just interesting to me to be like what would actually be included, because like obviously like what's in the history books is not all that happened in those decades
Sure.
and stuff of like I I imagine there were a lot of things that we would consider big, but that are not in the history books for like say 1890 through 1910 or something like that. You they obviously have to choose only the biggest things to actually put in there, and so it's always interesting to me to be like, okay, so what has happened and recently that is like actually big enough that they might put it in.
Yeah. So for me, it's if you want to lump 9/11 and just the broader war on terror together, that's
Yeah,
number one.
that
It's the
was,
financial crisis of 2008,
yeah.
and three, it's COVID. And I think that those are the three things that have shaped the world we live in right now, that we're
Mhm.
still living with. And to COVID is really the big unprecedented thing, but the response everywhere in the world, because most countries responded very poorly,
Oh
is a
yeah.
consequence of the degradation of every the degradation of society. I'm saying the
Yeah.
destruction of any sense of civic engagement.
Like hey, COVID has very much changed things, and something that I've always been interested in for like movies is like we got so many movies like is and TV shows where they're like, oh, we're gonna have a COVID episode. It's like, but what's it more interesting in me is um once we start getting more like big post-apocalyptic films of like how COVID it will change how those are made because like for one we're going there's gonna be I think like a much larger presence in those of people who just don't believe it happened
Hmm.
versus before COVID of it if they had something like that in a film, it was like a very small portion of people that everybody just thought was crazy.
So that's so interesting. So let's set a calendar alert for 30 years from now to look back on this. How many movies have actually addressed it, or just I could see it being a thing that's just like people are not interested in dealing with in the history
Mhm.
because it doesn't have heroes and villains, and it's so huge that it's almost like it feels like that's not even worth talking about, because it's not, in 1918 there was the Spanish flu that killed way more people than COVID, and it disrupted society. But we talk about the First World War, which happened at the exact same time, even though the Spanish influenza was just as big a deal. So I wonder if it'll be one of those things that's totally forgotten about. Movies have kind of ignored it. And a lot of movies are being like, the year, you make a movie today and you're like, the year is 2019. That way you don't have to address it at all. Ari
Yeah.
Aster's film Eddington is, I think, my favorite movie to directly address COVID and how it feels, um, and how it makes a person insane, but also takes all these things that were already rotten about society and just turns the volume up on all of them.
Yeah.
Check that movie out, everybody.
Definitely want to check that out sometime. It looks very interesting. I think like there's like I think there's definitely a sign of like people films being made to be set before COVID because they don't want to deal with it. I think there's also just this fact of like people people are so depressed now that they're like I remember this time when I wasn't depressed and I want some nostalgia of that time.
But people are eventually going to get nostalgic for COVID, and I bet it's already happened.
Well, the introverts are definitely gonna be
Oh,
nostalgic for
I'm
a time when they didn't have to see people.
raising my hand. Yeah, exactly. That was great. My mortgage company let me take a year off of paying my mortgage. It was incredible. It was the best. It was the height of the American empire for this gentleman. No, but that's the introvert's dilemma. I'm an antisocial person who craves friends and stuff. I know that I want to be around people. I want to hang out with people, but then when it comes time, I'm like, well, I want to stay home and do nothing. They're bothering me. Can I ask you something
Yeah.
about Epstein?
Mhm.
And I see you've been tweeting this a lot. So you think that there's going to be like some sort of accountability or punishment for anyone of consequence?
I don't know. I think that there inevitably at some point has to be something, but I don't know how much. I think
But
like
why
there,
do you say that there has to be?
I think because I don't think that without it that society will ever move on from it. I think that it may end up being just like one person is a fall guy, but I think there's got to be something.
That's usually how it happens is they'll pick out somebody. They'll pick out one person. Like in the financial crisis, there was like one banker who was prosecuted, and it was like like a family owned bank in Chinatown in New York. They're like this banker, this is the one that did it. Selective prosecution. So I could see something like that happening. But
I
I'm just
also my posting about it is also very much like keep this thing alive. I make sure people don't ever or stop talking about it because once we stop talking about it, that's when it does we do move on. Just like act like it never happened, and I don't want that to happen. I think that this is sign that we shouldn't ignore and sadly there's been a lot of like the major news companies are ignoring it. Like they made such a big deal about like doing news stories and stuff on the up on TV about like when it actually when about the actual like Congress working to get these released. But like once there's on things actually started releasing, you notice how none of these big news companies actually were reporting about what's in the files.
mhm. Well,
And
they're
that's
all
like so and like that is so damning against them. And if they're not going to report on it, the people need to keep talking about it to make sure it doesn't go away.
but people have been talking about JFK disclosure for 70 years and nothing's happened with that. Like, I just don't see how you can look at the history of this country and see like that there's ever accountability for elite and powerful people.
I can definitely understand that. But I also think though we are kind of in a bit of an unprecedented time where people's anger over a lot of things in this country are very much boiling over. And like if nothing else, I personally would not be surprised if at some point we do actually have a revolution.
I'd love to see it. I just, I don't think if it ever happened, it can't be in a way that we're seeing right now. It's certainly not. It's certainly not the Democratic Party. The only way it can happen is through organized labor, and that is absolutely hobbled in this country. But it's still the only hope we have. Like in Minnesota, the reason Minneapolis shut down and had hundreds of thousands of people get out in the streets was the unions there. And then, the politicians ran in afterwards.
I think our best chance of actual change is if we were to get somebody get a politician who does have very leftist views, but they run as a Democrat because no third party is ever winning the election. Actually, we gotta be honest with that. That's not
Mm-hmm.
happening.
No, it would never happen.
Um, sign like that. a very leftist ist politician, and I think they got to make their campaign be that their campaign is the revolution. That
I
I think
mean,
is personally the actually I think is the most likely thing that could happen. And
I mean, a socialist response would be like a revolution does not happen in elections. Elections aren't the revolution. Elections are just
I
rubber
understand
stamping
that.
for the ruling class.
I
Like,
understand that, but I'm just like I don't see a bit. I don't see a revolution ending up being like actually everybody in the all the citizens of the country just march on the Capitol or march on the White House. I think that sadly we do have to work within these systems, and that's the only way it's gonna any kind of change, even if it's small change. I think
I
it's the
think
only way it'll
what they
happen.
live does a great job of showing is like there is the system subsumes you. You can go in with good intentions and you come out just being a product of the system working to perpetuate the system's interests, including people I used to really love and admire like Bernie Sanders and AOC who go into the system and then like, oh, you just keep voting to give money to Israel, vote to expand the military budget, and it's like, oh, you ended up just being like just all the rest of the people.
Yeah. I think like
So
the
any
one thing
any
that I think the one thing that helps with AOC is the fact that she's very young, so she hasn't had nearly as much time to be like corrupted and then like forced into being a bitter old man and like the rest of them. So I think there is a chance that at least some change could happen if we were to elect like someone like AOC.
yeah, for
I
me
don't
it's
think
like
with Bernie Sanders there's any chance. He's already the bitter old man.
what does being a bitter old man have to do with it?
I mean, like stuck in your ways. Stuck in your ways. And his ways are the already corrupted ways.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
No, I mean nobody's suggesting he's running. I'm saying like where I am is like is there's no hope for any. The first place you look is not to who's going to win the presidency. Like that doesn't matter. If it's going to be AOC, the world will still keep getting worse. The planet will burn.
Mm-hmm.
ISIS budget is going to go up every year. Endless wars. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what she personally wants to do. All this stuff is going to keep happening. The thing that could change is that just the middle class of America is just being just decayed and destroyed. Their jobs all replaced with AI. And does that get channeled into any sort of evolution of the political system in the country? Because right now, as middle class people are still pretty comfortable, they're comfortable supporting the Democratic Party as long as it doesn't threaten the existing order at all. But if their lives get, and I'm talking about like myself, if my life becomes less and less comfortable, suddenly people like me are going to look for actual change. And that's more important than who is the president.
I think though, I think that we are like in a situation where like we are in like it's weird. This is a weird thing to say because like the situation is a terrible situation, but I think we are in the best situation to actually be able to get a leftist president because even a lot of people on the right are very angry because of what Trump has done within the past year. I
They're
think
very,
that we're the most we're in the most like in the easiest situation for us to get more votes for a leftist president in 2028 because of the absolutely awful things that are happening now.
I mean, my prediction is like we're just going to go back and forth. The presidency is going to change parties every 4 years, and things just keep declining and declining. And so, as things are declining, people will vote out the party that's in power for the other party that's in power. And this country's been through that before in the 1890s through the 1910s when you said nothing happened. That was
Well,
what happened.
I don't mean that nothing happened. I
No,
mean
I know,
that
I know.
I meant like
Nobody knows anything about it.
not everything that happened could be in the history books.
No, I know, I know. I'm kidding. But that was what's interesting is that's the other time that we had a president get voted out of office and then 4 years later get voted back into office. It was Grover Cleveland in the 1890s, and then it's Donald Trump now. And I don't think that's an accident. I think we're going to see more of that happening. It's like somebody like AOC could be the Democratic nominee, win the presidency, lose the presidency, come back and be the president again.
And speaking of like people coming back after being out of president, see like it seems like it sadly seems like we're going to a world where um presidents are going to break the 2-term limit Trump is trying, even though I don't think he's gonna live for that long. But also I heard that apparently Obama might want to run again in 2028. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, he
That's
doesn't want
so
to do shit.
stupid.
No, he wants to go sip martinis on Martha's Vineyards and sit on his ass and not do shit. Obama. Fuck him,
It's
man.
like, what the hell, man?
No, he doesn't want to do
So stupid. It
anything.
would be so stupid if 2028 the Democratic nominee was Obama. Like,
And what's sad is he would win. He would win again.
oh yeah.
People fucking love him. This despicable, worst president. I mean, I don't know. They're all bad. So I think Trump, based on things he said, I think he does not want to. He does not plan on actually. I mean, he doesn't want to be doing this at all. He just wants to be building his ballroom and golfing. But I think everything he said has indicated that he does not plan on actually trying to run again. But what I tell people to freak them out, to really get them freaked out, is okay, let's suppose he does. Let's suppose he decides, I'm running again in 2028. What do you think happens then? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, I'll tell you what happens. And you know in your heart this is what's going to happen. The Supreme Court will say, yes, he's allowed to do it. They'll make up whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yes, he's allowed to do it. And then what do the Democrats do? You know what they're going to do. They're going to send you emails saying, this is why you got to give us money. Give us more money. Oh my God, you got to give us money. And they're like, yeah, they would. And then Trump would win his third term. He would win that election. And then what would they do? Would they say, take to the streets and burn down the country? No, they'd say, give us money.
I think as long as Trump keeps running, we're sadly at a point where he's going to just keep winning each time. I'm and I say that because I still believe that that with the 2024 election that Elon made it so that he could that he would just win. I think there's that they have practically said that in post election stuff.
I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think this was he won by very little, and he went against the worst candidate of all time who didn't even want to be there. And I just think when you say that, I just think it's letting Democrats off the hook who historically bungled it.
I think that there's like with like the letting off the hook kind of thing. Like I don't think there's any value in blaming the two halves of the left. I don't think there's any value to that because doing that creates even more of a rift, and that which only helps Trump, only helps the right by doing that versus I think there is good reason to believe that that they did cheat, and I think they would cheat again, versus and we don't want and we want if we want any chance of getting anywhere in the future, we don't want to fracture the left even more than it is.
I just think there's no left. That's when you say left, you really just mean liberals and Democrats, and that.
I mean liberals and leftists. Like they are very different, but I think that they do have to come together. Or
But the
if you want
part,
to
no, but the
actually
party, I'm just talking about the party itself has made it its mission to demonstrate the left has no role in this party. You have no role. Bernie Sanders was going to win the nomination and they rigged the entire thing so that he couldn't because they'd rather lose elections to Trump than be have to answer to leftists in the party. That's what they do. That's why they're always like, what we want to do is get former Republicans. We want moderates. That's what they want because moderates won't ask for anything.
like
So for me, it's like as long as both of these and I used to be a lot more like you. I used to when people would say we have one party in this country, I would be like, no, they're different. They're so different. And now I'm like, no, we have the capitalist party and there's the left wing of it and the right wing of it. And they want the same things. They talk about them differently, but they want the same things. That's why wasn't there a vote in Congress for the war in Iran? They didn't want to take it because if they took it, they would all vote yes because they want the war in Iran. But they know their voters don't want it.
yeah. I do think that there's that there you're you definitely have like a point like there's it's less of as a right versus left thing and I but I do think that there is some difference and and that difference is important and the and then and like I think we have to like for like the Democrats slash liberal versus leftists it's like there's absolutely a big difference and but we gotta push the Democrat and leftist push the Democrat and liberal party to be more leftist is and that's the only way you get actual differences happening in the world. You can't like just working on them separately or giving in like being like, oh, we're gonna sacrifice some of this leftist stuff. That does not work. Or we have to push them to be more leftist.
I would say it's not push them. It's half of the country doesn't vote. You go find the people who don't vote, who can be appealed to with
which I think is
and this was the Bernie Sanders theory is we're going to activate people who aren't invested in voting. The people who are invested in voting are comfortable people. So we need to appeal to people with an economic message that they can understand. And it was a good idea, it just wasn't big enough for him to win. But I still think that's the only hope in electoral politics.
I think for that, it's also a sign where someone like AOC can help with that because she is such a young person, and I think a lot of these people who um aren't as invested are young people, and and I think she could get the young people's vote, but only if she runs things right. I in the I and the way that she runs things, you can run things right for a campaign. Is by I think she needs to get back to doing Twitch streams. Aims. Yes, I know that sounds stupid, but but that's where a lot of young people are and you and play games while teaching them about politics and like actual leftist views. I think is the best way to actually get them to care.
I think that you're talking a lot about views, but it's more like it's you need to appeal to people's self-interest, and if it's your economic interest, we will support it. Then that's what can activate people more than like if I can teach you about, if I can make you aware of like the issues. And what like They Live does a great job of showing like how real life becomes so abstracted from people. And politics is so abstracted. The only thing they talk about is symbolic cultural bullshit that doesn't like is that to a person who isn't invested in the system, it doesn't mean anything to them. But if you say like, as the Democrats did in the 30s when FDR was running, like vote yourself a bigger paycheck or vote for FDR. He knows your boss is a son of a bitch. That like speaks to people at a very visceral level. Oh, if I did this, if I participated in this political project, my life would improve, and then saw it happen. That would be something that could actually change. But it's just that it would have to be a different party. It can't be either of those parties that does it, because their donors, they're both supported by corporations, and corporations are not in favor of something like that happening. So more than anybody, like who could be the nominee, it's who are the donors, who supports you.
Yeah, absolutely. We have gone so far from talking about this film. I don't even know where exactly we drifted from, but but
I think the movie's like playing with all of these ideas though that were present even in the 80s.
Yeah, definitely. Let's think. What else about the film? Find interesting. Other thing I think that is a good, interesting comparison between now and with this film is the way way this ruling class, they're leaving the Earth, Earth. And we have all these billionaires who are going up in the rockets into space.
Great, I know. That's also a thing. Yeah, that's also a thing in the Avatar movies, which I was now finding a lot of comparisons with. Oh yeah, no, they all. For them though, that's the fantasy. That's all like, oh, we're destroying the Earth, so we got to invest in like either living forever in a computer or getting on a Noah's Ark and blasting away. And neither of them's gonna happen, buddy. You're stuck here with us.
The living forever in a computer, or say that a lot of sci-fi films do, is such a funny trope to me because like I genuinely don't think that most people would actually do that if given the choice, because I feel, or at least anyone who's smart would not do that, because if you understand how uploading sign works, it's when you upload sign, it is a copy of it. The original thing does not get sent somewhere, so you will still die.
You're gonna experience the death. You're gonna feel it. No,
You're
but
not.
But what did you just say, John?
Live on forever.
What did you just say? Anyone who's smart. Oh, so that excludes all these fucking morons.
Like
the ruling class, these people who run the world, they're dumb as fuck. Which I'm grateful to Trump for exposing, that these people are all dumbasses.
I find I find movies that do that interesting, and TV shows that do that interesting. But I just think it's funny, like particularly with like regular people, people who like the show show or movie does put show to be a smart person, but they're like still like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm like that. I feel like most people wouldn't do that, because like they do know at this point, people understand computers enough to know that that you are creating a copy. You are not. It is not, even with a fax machine, you are creating a copy. It is not actually sending the thing through.
Wait a minute, it's not? Holy shit.
It's not like that. It's not like the Willy Wonka like turns your atoms into little things and sends them through the air to teleport you.
Is the Mike TV thing, yes. But I think it's like for Elon Musk and for all these fucking goblins is like, I cannot stand the idea of a world where I don't still, some version of me is not or still around to tweet, interesting. Yes.
I think it would be really funny, like a satire of those kinds of films where like you have where the plot is from the perspective of a real person who's like not on uploading themselves, and like they talk to someone who's uploading themselves, and they're like, you're stupid in having done this, right? You're not actually that original person.
You should write that movie. I think you got a winning idea right there. I agree. And even if you did it, it's a fucking horror show. I'm going to live forever it's trapped in a computer. That's hell. That's literal hell.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Like I think that is like possibly one of the dumbest sci-fi tropes that there is this idea that everybody would just upload themselves into computers.
I think they might, though. I think they might. We don't know what's good for us. Think of all the horrible shit we do every day that's not good for us. All I talk about to people is how bad smartphones are, and how, and what do I do constantly? I look at my fucking phone. My phone that just says, obey, consume. And I'm like, yes, master. Yes, I will. I will keep scrolling.
Is there anything else about the film that you really want to talk about?
I like when he sees the two yuppie aliens and they're like, did Bob make you and John go to Mary Ellen's last night? I was shocked you served blue tortillas. Great. That's great. I think that's it. They have surveillance drones. That's crazy. I just how prescient, how relevant I feel this movie is. Whether it's ICE going in and fucking raising the homeless encampments, that this shit isn't going away. This will only become more and more prevalent. Oh, yeah. We might not be aware of it. It might not be televised.
I think it will be televised, and people just are going to ignore it.
Well, this is backing up to Epstein is, whatever smoking gun document that may or may not exist linking Trump or whoever it is, everybody lives in their own little cocoon of information anyway. Mm-hmm. So they're going to believe what they're going to believe. I don't know how many minds are going to get changed.
Like, I don't think it'll be televised by any of the big news companies, but I still think because like we are still very much in the age of information, even though there is a lot of misinformation out there, we are getting out the most information that people has ever been gotten out to people. Even maybe through lesser forms of media, but we are getting it out. There's a reason that that even though the major news corporations aren't talking about genocide in Gaza, it is called by a lot of people the most televised genocide in history, because people are able to record their own videos and put them up online, showing what they're dealing with, and like for all the bad things that the internet has, I think it is good that we that it's allowed us to be more conscious of all the bad things that are happening, because there are now even if it's obviously not everyone, and it's never gonna be everyone, but there's definitely more people trying to deal with these things than there used to be.
Well, that's why those lovely Ellisons bought TikTok, to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. That all this Gaza footage gets suppressed, and people Google,
I think that people will find a way. They will always find a way.
uh, Google's coming. They're coming for Google. They're going to do it to YouTube. They're going to do it to Meta, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
it. There's,
obviously, like these corporations, they're always going to be trying to suppress us.
but
But
here's the
I
other
do
thing.
believe in the human spirit, and like I think that people, if they want to get the information out, they will always find a way.
But then the other thing, and maybe this is opening a whole can of worms, but I feel like what you and I disagree on is I don't. I sincerely believe like public opinion doesn't matter. Like all of this documenting the genocide, what has it changed? It nothing. They want it to happen, so it's going to happen.
Well, okay, it's public. It's not changing it from happening, but I do think that whereas say this if we were in the 80s where they weren't able to get these things out, individual people who are suffering, they wouldn't be able to get any of the financial stuff that they need. Versus now, because of the things we're in now, the way things are now, there are ways where people are finding out and being able to donate to them.
Mm-hmm. It's just that's such a small thing.
It's maybe a small thing, but I think that you gotta be able to try and look at like that those small bright sides and be like yeah, it's good that that nowadays we are able to actually at least know about these things and be able to help out in even the smallest ways we can.
I mean, yes, it's a good thing that people are able to help them. The internet, I feel, has sort of destroyed consensus reality, and so it also makes it possible for just as many people to ignore everything that
Oh
happens
yeah.
because it's just a torrent of information. And if you're not invested in it, you're like, Gaza, that's still happening, whatever. So I'm not in terms of and I know you said you don't think that like the it's not that awareness has made this stop it from happening, but yeah, maybe it's made it better for individuals who are able to get help because they're able to reach more people. But
You
again,
know,
I'm sure they're going to do something about that soon.
you know, there's people there's people who say things that they think like, oh, 50 years ago there wasn't as many bad things happening. No, you just didn't know about them. And like say children getting kidnapped, like that is not a new thing, but I think it's good that we at least now have the capabilities to actually know about it, and there being people on the world who try to find these kids and try to get taken off the streets or something. I like I and it's kind of crazy that there are so many people who think that because they weren't hearing about something that it wasn't happening.
Yeah, no, I don't. I agree with that. It's just what I never say something like that. What I do say and firmly believe is like, yeah, the world gets worse and worse and worse. It was better in measurable ways. I don't. It was never good. It certainly was never
Oh,
good. But you know, like in the 1970s, we had a level of income of equality, voter power, consumer power, political power, labor power that's been diminishing ever since then. And I think people assume that things only get better, like more socially equal, more social justice the further we go along. And I don't see that as a law of nature. I think things go backwards. For example, women can't have I mean, the right to an abortion doesn't exist anymore. And
they definitely like is very much side that goes back and forth, or and like I think you just gotta like when we are in times where there's where things are better, we gotta enjoy those times and like don't take them for granted. At least that.
Yeah, like 2020 when they made me stay home and not talk to anybody. I should have enjoyed it more.
Uh, oh, well, I don't. I think we've talked
I
about
think we covered it
this
all.
movie a good bit. And a bunch of other topics that
I think
were
we
very
solved it.
interesting. Actually, we solved all the problems in the world with this podcast.
Yeah, we just need to get people to listen, to pay attention.
Oh, but yeah. Wind this episode down. Is there any final words you'd like to say before I end this off?
Check out They Live. Check out John Carpenter. He's great. All his movies are, I mean, most of them are great. Listen to the podcast Blowback about the history of the Iraq War. I have nothing to do with it, but it's very, very pertinent to what's happening in the world right now. They have wanted a war with Iran forever, and this podcast Blowback, season 1 about the Iraq War, in a very funny and easy to understand way, unpacks it, both if you were too young to experience it, and for me, if you were there and you just didn't understand it. It demystifies it all. Blowback. And then listen to 1 Week Rental if you have time.
Definitely listen to 1 Week Rental if you have time. It's I'm 1 Week Rental is a great podcast.
Thank you.
As I've been on there a few times, so not at all since the name changed. So
that's not true.
Well, technically, yeah, I have been on since it changed. I don't know why I was forgetting. Literally just a couple weeks ago.
No, I'm glad I made such an impression. You love my podcast so much.
Check out the 1 Week Rental. They have a lot of great episodes. There'll be there's an episode from like a year or two ago. Where you might I'd hear me singing about duck tits.
Duck tits.
Oh, so everybody check out 1 Week Rental podcast, and thank you everyone for listening. If you like this game analysis, please give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this film, so please let me know. If you'd like to listen more from me, please subscribe. Any more game analysis from me coming, so keep on the lookout. This again is your host, Smash Trivia John, signing off.